Now, for Unit 5, we have to review the sides and the order of the sides. So here I'm asking order the sides of each triangle from shortest to longest. I don't give you the measurements of the sides. I give you the measurements of the angles, right? The corners. One thing that we know though is that the smallest angle, we can find the smallest angle, we can compare numbers. The smallest angle is opposite from the smallest side. Remember in geometry, opposite means far away. The smallest angle is far away from the smallest side. So I don't know how big is the side KM. I just know that's the shortest angle. That's the smallest angle we have. KM or MK, however you want to call it. Then looking at my angles, then after 33, I'm moving to 35. I'm going from small to large. 35, that angle 35 is opposite from the side ML. So ML. And then the biggest angle is opposite from the biggest side. The biggest side will be KL. I don't know how big the measurements of the sides are, but I can tell which one's smaller and which one's largest. Don't forget that when you type in your homework, don't forget the space after each comma. Now let's take a look at number 22. The same idea. It's just that now here I give you the measurement of the sides, but I want you to order the angles in each triangle from smallest to largest. So I look at the sides. Well, you can compare the numbers. The smallest side is 18th. But I know the smallest side is opposite from the smallest angle. When it comes to angles, we use three letters. Make sure N is in the center. So I'm going to say L and M. Then I move on. After 18, going from small to large, the other side is 24. 24 is opposite from that angle. So I'm going to call this NLM. Right? L is important. We put L in the center. Sometimes when we use only one letter, sometimes for angles we might want to use just one letter. We want to use in that case L, the letter in the center. Now for the biggest side is 25. It's opposite from the biggest angle, so NML. Once again, if you're going to use one letter, we use M. For the homework, do use all three letters. For test, sometimes it's okay if you use one letter. So that idea is on the smallest angle is opposite from the smallest side. And the biggest angle is opposite from the biggest side. Now for questions 23 and 24, we're reviewing an idea called the exterior angle theorem. Exterior means outside, so we're dealing with an angle outside of the triangles. Once again, in algebra, we learned that the question mark, anything we don't know the value of, we replace it with a letter. So let me replace it with x. So the angle on the outside, in this case x, sometimes the angle on the outside might be a numbered, but in this case, x equals, the angle on the outside equals the two angles on the inside. I'm going to go 80 plus 75. It is always the angle on the outside by itself, and you add the two angles on the inside. It doesn't matter if x is on the outside or the inside. Sometimes x might be inside. Remember, the angle on the outside equals the two angles on the inside. Now, the rest looks like a simple algebra question. I have that x equals 155, right? 80 plus 75. And that's the value of x, 155. Simple as that. The homework, just type in obviously 155. The same idea could be used here. So for x, I look for the angle on the outside. The angle on the outside is by itself, so I'm going to write 11x plus 18 equals, then I'm going to add the two angles on the inside. 3x plus 13 plus 85. Let me separate them through the equal sign. The left side, there's nothing I can do. Just 11x plus 18. On the right side, I can put 3x because that's the x term by itself. 13 plus 85, I can simplify that. That's 98. Now I also notice that I have x on both sides of the equal sign. Let me get rid of the smallest x. So the 3x, let me move it to the left as a minus 3x. So I have x terms on the left side. So anything that doesn't have an x, let me move it to the right side. So the 18, let me move it over as a minus 18. Right? Don't forget to switch the signs. Now looking at the left, I have 11 minus 3. So that's 8. So I have 8x equals 98 minus 18. That's 80. Let me divide both of my sides by the number in front of the x. So x in this case is 10. Remember, the angle on the outside equals the angles on the inside. Now looking at number 25, I know we talk about isosceles and equilateral. Isosceles is when I have two angles that are equal. But the interesting part is that if two angles are equal, then two sides are equal. Let me take a look at the angles that I marked. You see the angle on the top. Let me highlight it again. That angle, let me mark the side that is opposite to it. That one. Now, let me take a look at the other angle that I marked initially. This angle is opposite to this side. Since the two angles were marked the same way to begin with, that means that those two angles are equal. I don't know how big they are. I just know they're equal. Because those two angles are equal, those two sides that I highlighted are also equal. So the way I'm going to solve for x, I'm just going to go 2x minus 4 equals 12. Right? If two angles are equal, then two sides are equal. The rest looks like a simple algebra question. The minus 4, let me move it over as a plus 4. So I get 2x is equal to 16. To get x by itself, let me divide by 2. So x is equal to 8, and that's the value of x. Just type in on your homework 8. You don't have to type in x equals. It's just 8. Same idea could be used here. Right? There's two sides that are marked the same way. So if I look at one side, let me highlight the side I'm looking at. It's opposite to this angle. The other side I'm looking at is this side, which is opposite to this angle. Right? Those two sides are equal. That means those two sides are equal as well. So x in this case is equal to 76. Right? Those two angles are equal, so it's as simple as that. Now, I'm not always going to give you the two angles that are equal. I could give you a problem. Let me write this thing real quick. I could give you this as 76 and this is x. So following the same idea, I'm going to say, well, this angle, this side on the top, let me mark the angle that is opposite from it. This other side at the bottom, let me mark the angle that is opposite from it. Right, in my example originally, once one of those angles was 76, the other one was x, so x equals 76. Now here, x is neither of those two angles. What I do know is that the blue angle is 76, right? You guys can see it's 76. So the red angle in this case will also be 76. Remember, those two angles are equal to each other. So the way I'm going to solve for x in this case, do notice that I have all three angles, right? I have all three angles of a triangle, and hey, we know that if I add everything, if I go x plus 76 plus 76, I should get 180. So that's how I will be solving for x. So for isosceles triangles, sometimes I might give you the two angles that are equal to each other. You see my example on the left. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I might give you one angle that equals one thing and a different angle which is different else, a different number. Obviously, how to solve this out? 76 plus 76, that's what? 152. And this is equal to 180. Let me subtract 152. X in this case is 28. So once again, be careful on the two angles that I give you. So you should be good for the test.